Recorded Books and RB Digital present Moral Compass by Danielle Steel, narrated by Dan John Miller. To Beatty, Trevor, Todd, Nick, Samantha, Victoria, Vanessa, Max, and Zara. To my darling children, be lucky, be wise, be brave, be honest, be kind, be loving to each other. Stand up for what you believe in, and do what you know is right. I love you so very much, and am so proud of you. Mom, D.S. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Attributed to Edmund Burke. Chapter 1. It was the day after Labor Day, one of those perfect golden September mornings in Massachusetts, as the students of Saint Ambrose Preparatory School began to arrive. The school was over 120 years old, and its imposing stone buildings looked as distinguished as the colleges where most of the students would be accepted once they graduated. Many illustrious men had attended Saint Ambrose and gone on to make their marks on the world. It was a historic day for Saint Ambrose. After 10 years of heated debate and 2 years of preparation, 140 female students were about to arrive and join the 800 male students. It was part of a 3-year program that would ultimately add 400 young women to the student body, bringing it to a total of 1,200 students. This first year, they had accepted 60 female freshmen, 40 sophomores, 32 juniors, and 8 seniors, who had either recently moved to the East Coast or had some valid reason to want to change schools as a senior and not graduate with the class they'd gone through high school with until then. Each of the female applicants had been carefully vetted to make sure she was up to the standards, morally and academically, of Saint Ambrose. 2 dorms had been built to accommodate the new female students. A third would be finished within a year, with a 4th scheduled to be built the year after that. So far, all the new additions and changes had gone smoothly. There had been lengthy seminars for the past year to assist the existing faculty with the transition from teaching at an all-male school to co-ed classes. Its advocates had insisted that it would improve the academic standing of the school, as girls tended to be more dedicated to their studies at the same age and settled down to academics earlier. Others said it would make the students better rounded, learning to live and work, collaborate, cooperate, and compete with members of the opposite sex, which was, after all, more representative of the real world they would be entering in college and thereafter. The school's enrollment had diminished slightly in recent years, with most of their competitors having already gone co-ed, which most students preferred. They couldn't stay current and compete if they didn't go co-ed. But the battle had been hard won, and the headmaster, Taylor Houghton IV, was one of the last to be convinced of its benefits. He could see endless complications as a result, including student romances, which they didn't have to deal with as an all-male school. Lawrence Gray, head of the English department, had asked if they would be renaming the school St. Sodom and Gomorrah. After 37 years at St. Ambrose, he had been the most vehement voice against the change. Traditional, conservative, and privately a bitter person, his objections were eventually overruled by those who wanted the school to keep up with the times, no matter how challenging. Larry Gray's sour attitude stemmed from the fact that 10 years into his tenure at St. Ambrose, his wife had left him for the father of a 10th grade boy. He had never fully recovered and never remarried. He had stayed for another 27 years since, but was an unhappy person, though an excellent teacher. He wrung the best academic performance possible out of each of the boys and sent them off to college well prepared to shine at the university of their choice. Taylor Houghton was fond of Larry, affectionately calling him their resident curmudgeon, and was fully prepared for Larry's grousing throughout the coming year. Larry's resistant attitude toward modernizing the school had resulted in his being passed over as assistant headmaster for many years. He was 2 years away from retirement and continued to be vocal about his objections to the incoming female students. When the previous assistant headmaster retired, faced with such a major change at the school, the board had conducted a 2-year search and was jubilant when they succeeded in wooing a brilliant young African-American woman, assistant headmaster of a rival prep school. Harvard-educated Nicole Smith was excited to come to St. Ambrose at a time of transition.